Hey everybody, welcome to another training session. My name is Paul Abernathy. I'm your instructor, and today we're going to be looking at some questions that are in our Fast Trax program. All right, if you're not familiar with what our Fast Trax program is, it is a structured plan to teach you the National Electrical Code, not just pass your exam. It teaches you the NEC, makes you a better electrician, but when you go to sit for exams, it raises that confidence level because we cover every element from Unit 1 all the way up to Unit 19. So part of that, you get access to over 800 practice questions, as well as hundreds and hundreds of competency questions that I grade personally. Okay, if you're interested in our Fast Trax program, then right there, right there, there's the address to go to, and you can watch a demo and you can learn a little bit about our program. But today we're going to do some exam prep questions, and we're going to show you how you would dissect these and go look at in the code. Because you know what? You're going to take an exam, or if you're learning the NEC, you really got to focus on reading a question and understanding what's being asked. Okay, so we'll do it. Maybe we'll stumble. Let's see. So let's go on and get to the first question and see if we can't practice for the National Electrical Exam, code exam, that is. We got to prepare for a code exam. Okay, so here's the question, the first one on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. It says, where a trade size half-inch rigid metal conduit, RMC, is to be installed in a Class 1 location. And we all know Class 1 locations are what? Locations with have flammable vapors, liquids, and vapor, liquids, and gases. Okay, all of that is volatile, combustible, but that is a Class 1 location. Of course, you have Class 2, which is combustible dust, and in Class 3, which is flammable flyings and fibers and things like that. Okay, so we know it's a Class 1. It says, let's see if I can get over here. Right here it says, and a trade size half-inch conduit seal is required. Okay, so it's half-inch or trade size half raceway, and of course it's requiring a conduit seal here. The minimum thickness of the seal compound shall not be less than, and you've got four answers here. We've got 5/8 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, half of an inch, and 3/8 of an inch. Now, when you're going to be looking in the NEC, you have to remember something. We want you to remember things, but there are things that can help you along the way, and that is using the answers when you're scanning the question, and then you look at it, and then you go into the code book. You're looking at all of the code information. You're going to be using these values, 5/8, 3/4, half, and 3/8, to trigger you and to kind of stop you as you're scanning the page. Now, it would be wonderful if you just knew the answer. That would be great. But if you don't, you need to know how to get there. And then once you're there, then you use the answers that are in your, if you're sitting for the exam, they're on your screen. Use those to help pull you where you need to be. So the first things that I look at this and it triggers for me is it's Class 1. All right, so you need to know the article that deals with Class 1. That's Article 501. Okay, hazardous location starts at 500. That's what gives you all of the things that constitute the different types of gases and all this, and their classification. Gives you some general rules. And then you start getting into Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, which is 501, 502, 503, that type of thing. So in our case, we know it's Class 1, so that's 501. And then we're looking specifically for seals. And to be honest with you, we're looking for the thickness of the seal. I mean, that's the question, right? That is exactly what they're asking me. So all of the other information, sizing and all, we already know there's a seal required. So really, it wants to know what's the minimum thickness of the sealing compound. Okay, all right, no problem. So we're going to go to the NEC. And what I want to do is I'm going to take you to Link. Link, if you're not familiar with Link, you need to get Link. Now, this is not a public service announcement for NFPA by any means, but I can tell you right now, your life will be so much easier in the field if you have Link on your phone. And it works on your phone. You can then go to your desktop. You can go to a laptop. It doesn't matter. Link logs in. It's all web-based. It's beautiful. And you get to see other cycles. And you get to see other NFPA documents like NFPA 72. You get to see all of, obviously, the NEC. So you get older editions all the way back to 2008. for the NEC. So, it's a great value, especially if you're somebody who has to make those decisions on the job site. So I recommend you get it. Just go to NFPA, you'll find it. All right, so let's go to the code real quick. All right, so I'm over here at the code, and I know that we're going to be in Chapter 5, Special Occupancies, obviously hazardous locations. So I'll open that up. And here you see, here's your Class 1 right here. All right, so if I open Class 1, and I go down, and I'm looking through here, and I'm saying, okay, what am I going to be looking for? I'm looking for seals. Okay, I'm looking for application to deal with seals. All right, so we can start our journey in 501 down here where you see sealing and drainage right here, 501.15. So that's where we're going to start our journey. Now, if you're using the NEC, you can use the index. You have a table of contents and you have an index. If you didn't know what Class 1 was, you could use the table of contents. You can go down 500 and you would have seen Class 1 is in 501. Now you can go to the index, and I'm going to grab it for you because Link is great, but it did not provide us with access to the index. So it's not that great for an educator to teach you with because I don't have access to show you how to do an index lookup. So I'm going to hope you got your code books. I'm going to do it with you, and I don't have my third camera hooked up. It's disconnected because I had some software issues, but that looks down on my book. So I'm going to, hopefully you can pause this video, get your code book out and go into the table of contents and to kind of show you how you could get there if you didn't know what to do. So in this case, I'm going to go look in hazardous locations in the book. And if you look in hazardous locations, you'll see that there is a Class 1. And if you go down Class 1 and you kind of look at it, you'll see there's sealing. And the first thing under sealing will say go to 501.15. And of course, that's what we did when we just looked at Link. We said, okay, well, 501.15. That looks like where we want to go. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so that was pretty easy in your code book. Now, here's your sealing. Now, let me give you some tips for an exam here. If I'm looking in my code book, I'm looking for triggers. Something, for example, like here, like the thickness, that terminology, something that says seal compound. I'm looking for these answers. Okay, let me take you back real quick. I'm looking for, in the question, I'm looking for like something that says seal compound. I'm looking for thickness. I'm looking for these answers. So as I'm bold scanning, and that's what we call it, bold scanning, half the battle was getting you here. Once you're here, now you're going to use what's actually in the question to help you have a better chance at finding the answer. Okay, now I would love it if you just knew. But the reality is a lot of tests you're going to take, you're not just going to know. Right? So let's kind of go back to the code. And let's see here. We're going to scroll down and we don't see anything in here. I'm using the answers to help me. Then pressurized to Class 1 boundaries. Okay. Okay, here we go. We've got seals. That's Class 1 Division 2. Let's see here. Seals. This is cable seals. Okay. I'm just kind of looking really quickly going through. All right, and seeing what I've got. Okay, all right. So I'm looking through and just kind of getting a feel of what all we have. Okay, all right. I feel good that we're going to find our answer in here. So let's kind of move back up to the beginning of it. And first thing you'll notice is we are dealing with Class 1 in Division 1 or 2. It's either we're dealing with 1. No, actually, the question didn't say whether it was 1 or 2 division, did it? It just says Class 1. So when I see this, and this is under the heading conduit seals, now is where I'm starting to look and see the answers, the inch values that are given. And I see nothing in here. Scrolling down inches, nothing matches our answer. We're doing this quickly. And then we come down here and we see Class 1. This is seals installed in Class 1. It doesn't matter, Division 1 or Division 2. And then notice we see something down here that says thickness of compounds. Does that not basically match what we saw in the question? All right. And the first thing your eyes need to go to is you'll see 5/8 of an inch. Right. Okay. So you go back over to the question and you go, boom, 5/8 of an inch. And there it is. 501.15C3. And of course, now in our Fast Trax, it does give you the answers like you see here, and it does 2 cycles so that you can go back and look. So if you're in our 2020 Fast Trax, it'll give you 2017 answer as well. so you can kind of see if it might have changed, the code section's changed or something like that. But you get to see your answer. And in this case, we dissected it, right? We knew that it was class 1. The division didn't matter. We knew we were dealing with a seal, okay? We knew that it was the thickness of a seal compound, and those are trigger words that help get us where we need to be. But again, a quick tip is, in the real world, I'd like you to be really deep into this, but on an exam, I'm using the answers to help validate my, what we call bold scanning, okay, as we're going down the page. Make sense? And we teach you that in the Fast Trax. And the beautiful thing about the Fast Trax is you're going to hit so many things are going to be beat into your brain as you're going through it, right? You're going to constantly be hammered into your head code rules. Now, unlike other programs that just give you code questions, you're going to learn code in our program. This is just examples of some questions that we give you. You're actually going to learn code. And so that's what makes it different. All right, let's go to another one. Okay. The next question we got is the minimum height of headroom of working space above service equipment, switchboards, and motor control centers shall be at least blank or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. Now, here's a beautiful thing, folks. You might already know this question, and if you're a Fast Track student, I guarantee you know this question. But if you're not and you're saying, okay, I'm on an exam, I'm stuck. What do I do? Okay. Well, this is trying to find the headroom. Okay. So you could go to the index, and let's just say we go to the index, and I'm looking for some bold stuff, and I'm gonna say, okay, well, what is it asking me about? Well, it's asking me about the working space. So maybe there's an index question. Maybe there's something in the index for this. So I'm gonna go to the back of the index, and I'm looking, and guess what? There is working space. Okay. And it tells us, okay, working space, and it says about electrical equipment, 110.26. Okay. Now, here's a couple tips for you. Okay. When you're in an exam and you go to the index, try to exhaust your activities in the index while you're there. Don't go flipping back and forth if you can help it. And what I mean is they're usually going to give you a dry erase paper or where you have a pencil in a dry erase tab or scratch paper. Use it. Write down on that scratch paper all of the code sections that you want to go to based on your exploratory search into the actual index so that you don't have to keep going back and forth. Now, for example, for me, I would be here under working space, and I would write 110.26 down, okay? And then looking down, let's see here. I don't see anything else in here except for I did see switchboards, and that also says 110.26. So that tells me I'm in the right place. But while we're here, let's go on and look at switchboards and see what it says. Because that's a predominant word it calls out in here, right here. Let's just go see what it's under switchboards by chance. In case I go down that road. So I'm going to go look switchboards. And by the way, taking your time on a question like this in our program, everybody tries to tell you that you have to answer these questions within 2 minutes because that's the way the exam is. You're studying, you're preparing, you're building your knowledge. Take your time. I tell people all the time, dissect a question because it does a couple things. One, it puts it in your memory, and two, it gets you familiar with moving back and forth through the NEC. And that's really what we're doing here, because when you get in an exam and it starts to get crunchy and you start looking at that clock ticking away, you're going to be like, okay, time is going and I feel like I'm in this rut. Focus. When you're practicing in our program, we tell you, dissect these questions. You have over 800 practice questions you can do. You have some final exams. You have some 3 final exams, actually, you can do. Take your time. Really dissect every word in the question because you'd be surprised. A lot of these questions are going to be very similar to what you would see on an exam. Take your time. It's okay. All right, so in this case, I'm going to look under, like I said, I'm going to go look under switchgear and see if there's anything under switchgear that might say working clearances or whatnot. So I'm going to go look. And also what it does is it lets you know if switchboard, excuse me, I said switchgear, but switchboard lets you know if that's in the back of the index. So I'm going to go look. and see what I've got. You should be doing it with me. So I'm going to look in here and see if I see, okay, I see switchboard. And then underneath, I see clearances. And it's 110.26 again. Okay. Now, as you get better, you're going to notice that the other references like 408, that's just the article for panel boards, switchboards, and switchgear. So you'll understand that. And so you'll see that, and you go down, and I'm just looking down. Let's see here. Locations. Okay. Working spaces. Right at the bottom of switchboards, it says working spaces 110.26. Okay. So that is important because it shows you that there are multiple ways inside of the NEC using the index to get to where you need to be. Okay. All right. So with that said, we're going to go to 110.26 and we're looking for what? The headroom of the working space. Not the working space, the headroom. Okay. So let's go look at it. Let's go to the code. And I'll get us back to the beginning here. And let's go to 110.26 like it said. Right here. All right, so here's your working space, and here's the depth of the working space. Here's the height of the working space. The width of it, and here's your height right here. Okay, it says the working space shall be clear from extent from the grade, floor, or platform to a height of 6.5 feet, or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater, within the height requirements of this section. Okay, so if you go back and look at it, and also just so we're clear, let's go back to the beginning here. You notice that you come back here that it is space is about all electrical equipment. Okay, so just wanted to make sure we're clear on that. All right, so it looks like 6.5 feet. Okay, so let's come back to our question. Okay, back at our question. Which one do you think this? 6? No. 6, 7? No. How about 6, 6? There you go. 110.26A3. That's what we looked at. The beautiful thing here is there is multiple ways to find it. And I'm going to expect most of you are probably going to know this answer simply just based on you put in the time, you put in the work. You're probably in a program like ours where it's very structured and you just learn this. Well, that is where the 3-wave method comes in that I explain in another video. And that explains that you make a first wave, you answer what you know. You know, that code knowledge, that experience that you have. That's going to ease your comfort. The second wave, oh, by the way, any of them that you don't answer right away within a minute in the first wave, you put a little check, you mark it. Most electronic systems have a little mark. You mark it. Then you go on. You don't dwell on it. You go to the next one. If you answer, guess what happens? You're building up a repository of time. Because if every question is allotted 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes, and you answer it in a minute or less, you have just added an additional minute to be used on tougher questions. And believe it or not, it also helps you focus it. Knock the bulk of the questions you know out of the way on that first run, and then every one of them that you marked, you're going to come back and start answering those. And every one of those that you answer, you're going to uncheck. So the only thing you're doing in the subsequent reviews is leaving the ones that you have checked until you feel confident enough to uncheck it, okay? But if you want to know how the 3-wave method works, go over and search for it over on our YouTube channel. You'll find it. It's the 3-wave method, and I explain how that works. Okay, so, hey, straightforward. We found the answer in many, many ways in this one, and you can do it too. Next, let's go and do another one. Okay, question. When calculating the total load for a commercial building, okay, what is the minimum computed load in VA required by the NEC for a branch circuit supplying an exterior electric sign? Okay, so we have an outside sign, and we're trying to calculate the total load for this. Now, this is one of those situations where you got to know what you're looking for. And in this case, it's a branch circuit application, and it's an exterior electric sign, okay? So there's a couple places we're going to go look. But first, if you go to the index, let's go to the index first. For those that have the index, and you can pause this video, give you enough time. We're going to go back into the back, and I'm going to look under signs. Why not? Okay, so let's go look under signs. Let me see what we've got. All right, so I'm under, oh, by the way, also I'll remind you that ceiling and all that, when we did that first question, ceiling, there's also a under S for ceiling, things like that. It's all back here too. So you have so many ways you could have found the answer to that first question. All right, anyway, let's go to signs. Okay, so here's signs. Now, it also, under signs, let's look here, and it says signs, branch circuits, 220.14F. Okay, write that down. Because what? 220 is what? 220 is calculations. 14 is in the branch circuit aspect of that, and that's what the question's asking us about, right? So I've got to write that down. So let me go on through here a little more and just look down and see what else we might see. Since you're here, remember you want to spend your time there, okay? Now, the first thing I'll also remind you that signs is also, electric signs is under Article 600, okay? So if we don't find the answer that we want in 220.14, in this case, it looks like it was 220.14F, it also has a reference to 600.5 as well when it comes to branch circuits. So what do? You jot that down. So we're going to either be working to 220 or 600. But we're going to go to the most obvious, since we're doing a calc, we're going to go to 220.14F first. So we're going to do that. So you've got your work done out for you there. So let's go on and go over to the code. And let's see here. Go back to the code here. Let's go to 220.14. Right here, and we got to go to F. All right, here's F right here, okay? Now it says, sine and outline line circuits shall be calculated at a minimum of 1200 volt amperes for each branch circuit specified in 600.5a, okay? Now, let's look at this question again. So this says 1200, and obviously 1200 is one of the answers, okay? And of course, you have some enhanced information down here, right? All it does is the load calculation must be based on a minimum of 1200, okay? Or the actual load, again, whichever is greater. But we're looking for minimums. So let's go on and collapse this. Let's come back real quick. All right, so when calculating the total load for the commercial building, okay, what is the minimum computed load in volt amperes required by the NEC for a branch circuit supplying exterior electric sign? Okay, so based on this, it looks like we're like, okay, that's 1200 VA, and it might be. But while I'm at it, I want to go look at 600.5, okay? I need to go look at it. So let's go look at it real quick. We don't want to get tripped up on anything. So we'll go back here, and I'm going to go to 600.5 real quick. Branch circuit rating. All right, here's the branch circuit requirements right here. And let's see here. Now notice, branch circuits that supply signs shall be rated in accordance with 600 by C1 or C2 and shall be considered to be a continuous load for the purpose of calculations. So if that's the case, let's take a chance here. So it's 1200 times 1.25. That is 1500. And let's go back and look at our question. And let's choose 1500. Why would we be incorrect? Why do you think we got that wrong? Because it's asking for the calculation. That question right there said what? Let's dissect it. We did this for a reason. Let's go back and read it. Why is this wrong? And this is a common mistake people do. Check this out. And this is why I do things that I do this way. Notice what it says here. It says the rating for the branch circuit that supplies the sign. What did our question say? Very focused, very focused. Go back to the question. The question said, when calculating the total load of the commercial building, it had nothing to do with the branch circuit. It had to do with the overall calculated load. And that comes from Article 220. It wasn't the branch circuit. Let me give you another great example of this. When it comes to water heaters, just 120-gallon storable water heaters, 422 says the branch circuit is to be sized as a continuous load, right? But when you do the overall load calculation, It's only the wattage of the water heater. You don't take it as a continuous load. You get me? You kind of see why I do what I do here and why we did this way? Because it is so easy to go down the rabbit hole and read a question and then go, okay, what are they asking me? Because this question misled you. It says, when calculating the total load of a commercial building, what is the minimum computed load in VA required by the NEC for branch circuit supplying exterior exit signs? Didn't matter because it wasn't sizing the branch circuit. It was obviously a branch circuit is the load to the exterior sign, but we're doing a load calc, an overall load calc. That's why we have to focus on 220. You with me? You see how that works? Hopefully you do. If you didn't and that's confusing to you, get in our program, come to our Wednesday night sessions. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time and the little nuances. And I even trick students. I'll try to get them to think and work through things. And again, I'm not here to give you all the answers. I'm here to train you to be better at finding the answer and looking at something and dissecting it and understanding it. This was a great exercise, and it's why I picked these questions to do that. Because I want you to see the difference between doing the load calc for the building versus what you would do for the branch circuit. Make sense? Okay. That's why you get a structured class. You really can't learn that in books and DVDs that don't go into those nuances like that. We do. All right? Okay, let's do another one. That was a good one. And I have to admit, that was a bit of a setup there to be able to do the example that I wanted to do. But again, you get the point, right? You get it. Okay. Next question. In general, motor control circuits shall be arranged so that they will be disconnected from all sources of supply when blank. The disconnecting means is integral with the controller, installed in a motor control center. Disconnecting means is in the open position. The disconnecting means is not within sight of the controller. So what is the question asking me? It says, in general, motor control circuits shall be arranged so that they will be disconnected from all sources of supply when? That's when we have to find the answer. So where are we going to go? Okay, so this is a motor control center circuit, and we're talking about motor control circuits, right? So first thing is, I love to look at diagrams. Since we're talking about motor control circuits and the disconnecting means for that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the code. And you know what? You may just know the answer to this. But if you don't, you're going to go to the code. We're going to go to 430. And we're going to look at a little bit of a diagram first. Hopefully the diagram shows up on link. Yep, there it goes. I'm going to expand this out so you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. All right, so here we're talking about, again, motor control centers. If you come down here, we're talking about motor control circuits right here. And that's what the question was, motor control circuits, right? And it looks like it is in part 6 of 430. So that's another good reason why you have these illustrations and this guidance in order to do that. Now we can verify that by going up here and looking also here. Notice it says motor control circuits, and this can be a huge shortcut for you because it's going to tell you that you can start at 430.71 and it goes to 430.75. And we'll see if that helps us. You also have disconnecting means down here, but we're going to go and see what it is here. So in your code books, we're going to go to 430.71. So let me click here, and we'll go on and go down to 430. And I'll get us down to 71. See if we can't find the answer. Here's the general. Okay, so here's our motor control circuits. Here's the general. Okay. And let's see here. So if we got it, we'll look at go back and look at our questions so we can kind of refocus. Of course, in exam, you got it right there, but we're dissecting it. So we're going to go back and look real quick. All right, so back at our question, it says, in general, motor control circuits shall be arranged so that they will be disconnected from all sources of supply. Okay, so that phrase, okay, arranged so that we be disconnected from all sources of supply. So let's kind of go back over to the code real quick and see if we can't figure that out. So bear with me while we go look. And we're back over here. And here's control, truck ductors, arrangement. Disconnection. Motor control circuit shall be arranged so that they will be disconnected from all sources of supply when the disconnected means is in the open position. See how we dissected that? Let's come back. Disconnected means in the open position, right there. Answer that. Boom. 430.758. You see how we did that? That's the way you do it. So let's come back to me. Hopefully you learned something a little bit today. You can use the pictograms, diagrams, everything can help you get where you need to be. Hopefully you got something out of that, folks. And if you're interested in joining our program, the address is right here, fasttracksystem.com. I'm here to help you. I love to see you on Wednesday nights. It's just that simple if you really put the effort into it, and I want to be your guide to help you better understand. Till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless.